Today's Daled Adar Tashin Ayin. This is Shir Klali for Parshas Trumah. For bringing Klali.
Well, you look pleased, Dovey Eliovitz. It's going to be a for bringing. You look pleased about that, eh? He didn't know whether to take me seriously. Well, you're not supposed to laugh. All right. So we're turning to this week's Parsha Trumah, chapter Kof Hei, which is in the first section. Chapter Kof Hei. Pasik Ches and Tes. So the Pasha begins with the tzivui to Moshe Rabbeinu on the part of Hashem that he must take offering, a monetary offering and Trumah from the Yidden in order to prepare all the necessities for the building of what he now goes on to say after having said what basic materials are needed. And it's one on the whether it's 12 or 13 Dvarim that are mentioned in the first Pesukim. And then he tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem, Yasuli Mikdosh V'shochanti B'seichom. You must make me a holy place, and like Rashi teaches that it's Asul Lishmi Beis Kedusha Mikdosh Li Asul Li Mikdosh. Rashi teaches. What do I need to just have a quick word with you. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I forget things. Don't have to worry. No, not now. But mustn't worry, but I just need to have a quick word. Asuli Mikdosh V'shochanti B'seichom Ali Mikdosh. Rashi teaches that a Mikdosh is a base Kedusha, a house of sanctity, and Li means for the name of the Eibishter. But it's not the place here to go into all the diukim why Rashi teaches it Lishmi, for the sake of the Hashem's name. And what does it mean, a base Kedusha? However, Kachel Asher Ani Mare Oischo, according to all that I'm showing you, Eis Tavnis HaMishkon Ve'eis Tavnis Kol Kelov, according to all that I'm revealing to you here on the mountain, all the details of the Mishkan, the Tavnis of the Mishkan, the shape and the building of the Etzem Mishkan, Ve'eis Tavnis Kol Kelov, the shape and the making of all of the Kelim, V'chein Ta'asu, and so shall you do. So comes along Rashi, and Rashi says, what does it mean, the expression V'chein ta'asu, and so shall you do? Where's the Rashi here in this comment? Yeah, V'chein ta'asu. So Rashi says, L'doiros, for the generations to come. This is the way you shall make the Mikdash for the generations to come. So what does it mean for the generations to come? Im yoivad echad min ha-kelim, if one of the kelim will be lost, oy kishata'asu li clay base oilomim, or you will later on, in later generations, you'll make me the kelim that belonged in the base oilomim. And base oilomim is referring to the base hamikdash, which was later going to be built in Yerushalayim, and that's called the everlasting house, base oilomim. Again, for example, shulchanes, umenoides, ukioides, umechoines, tables, and the menorahs, candelabras, or whatever they call them, the containers of the washing water for the koyanim, kioiros, the water container, umechoines, literally the bases on wheels that carried the kioa. That's what the mechoines are. Here in our Chumash over here, we don't have a clear mention or description of these mechoines, but in Sefer Malachim, where Shlomo HaMelech builds the Beis HaMikdash, it's written clearly over there at some length about these mechoines, that they were like little bases on wheels that they moved along. They were movable on their wheels, and the kioa sat on top on a sort of a basis that was built on like a cart on which the wheels were fixed. And that was for moving around the kioa, and also for carrying it to its place where it had to be sunk down at night. You know that the kioa sunk down under the azora at night time, was covered by a stone, because if it were to stay overnight, then the water inside would become possible. So in order to avoid changing the water every time, they used to put it down under the azora at night time. So these mechoines, they were used to move the kioa around and to put it in its place, because it was a big kli, and with the water in it was apparently much easier and proper to move it around, and that's what the mechoines are. And nowadays the word mechuna can even mean a machine or things of that nature. So all these things that Shlomo HaMelech made, ketavnis elo ta'asu esom, you must make them according to the same shape and plan as you're making them over here in the Mishkan. V'im lo yehoya hamikra mechuba lemikra shelamayla himenu, and if it weren't for the fact that this pasuk is connected back to the mikra above it, before it, lo yehoya lo liktev v'chein tasu. He shouldn't have written with a vav v'chein tasu, ela kein tasu, hoya medaber al asiyas oyel moyed v'cheilov. And then, says Rashi, had it not been written with a vav, then it would have been referring to what's coming, to all the activity that's going to be described, how they made the kelim, and it'll be written, this is the way you should make the kelim, meaning the ones we're talking about now. But since it's written with a vav, which bounds it back to the previous pasuk, where it's written Asuli Migdosh v'Shochanti v'Seichon, and Rashi's already told me over there that Asuli Mikdash is referring to the Etzem Beis HaMikdash itself, and L'chein Tasu, meaning in the Doiros which will come, this is the way you shall make the Mikdash and its Kelim, meaning that like you're doing it here, that's the way you'll do it in the future. Had it not been written with a vav, it would have been the pshat. Do things this way, which I'm going to tell you how to make all the oren and the other inyonim, but then it would have been a specific, like the Ramban tells us, a specific ziruz, that he got a urging to get in energetically into the malacha on what we're doing now in the Mishkan. According to Rashi, it's an everlasting tzivui for all the kelim which will come, and that's why he calls it Beis Oilomim, the everlasting Mikdash, telling me that all the things that will be done in future Mikdashim have to be the way they're made, here in the tzivui of Asuri Mikdash. So from that we see that even though we're talking about the mitzvah that Moshe Rabbeinu Kibel on Har Sinai for this Mishkan, there's a clear tzivui, according to Rashi, that you must continue the same basic pattern in all the Mikdashim which are to come, including the Beis HaMikdash in Yerushalayim, which is very different and its whole situation, its whole building, its whole shape and form, immeasurably different than the Mishkan in the Midbar. And the fact comes along the Ramban, and the Ramban asks on Rashi that kasha, and he says, how can you say that everything that was in the Mishkan later in the Beis Elomim has to be the same? Already we see that Shlomo did many things which were not the same. Shlomo HaMelech built Beis HaMikdash, and it was very, very different, both in measurements and in sizes, even in the Kelim. And he brings an example of the Ramban from the Mizbeach, which was out in the Chotzer, not inside the actual Heichel, the Mizbeach Hanachoishes, the copper Mizbeach, where all the korbanos were offered, that was bigger in the Beis HaMikdash than it was in the Mishkan. And so he mentions that in other places we also find that there were more of the same type of kelim, and there were more, and the kruvim, and the oren, and the kapiras. They're all different size in the Mishkan than they were in the Mikdash, and the kruvim were bigger. They were made in slightly different fashion, etc. So therefore, the Ramban says, I have to say that everything that was here in the Mikdash, in the Midbar, everything was done in the same pattern in the Mikdash. That's his kasha of Rashi. Thank you, my son. And if Ramban says that V'chein Tasu is be'emes connected with what's written previously. Since we're told that you have to make a Mikdash, and you have to make all the kelim according to the way I'm showing you here in the mountain, the Yidden might have thought, well, we've got plenty of time, and maybe we should sit back and make a big farbrengen, and have a puff a few cigars, and have a nice meeting, and then we'll call another meeting, and have another meeting at the Bad of the Mikdash with the ganze Indian. The father Ramban says, no, V'chein Tasu is a zero, and this is the way you get moving. V'chein Tasu be'emes, let's see you do it. In other words, it's immediate, and it's urgent, and it's brent. That's how the Ramban learns. So we see this basic difference between Rashi and the Ramban. So that's what the Ramban asks, that things were different in the Beis HaMikdash than they were here. Doubtless he's right. We just look up in Sefer Malachim, we look at the measurements of certain of the Yonim. He brought the dogma of the Mizbeach, of the altar. If you don't mind, sit forward a little bit and don't look like a drawing room meeting around here, my son. He's right. The differences, there were differences in the sizes of the kelim and the way they stood and the way they were made. So comes on there, Chaim HaKadosh, different answers are given to Rashi. Well, this is not the really main concern of the class, so therefore we'll bring one or two of the Inyanim just in order to allow us to move further into the main theme. And that is that the Chaim HaKadosh deals with this in great length. And he says that in Emerson, the Beis HaMikdash was first of all described by Hashem to David HaMelech. That David HaMelech said to Shlomo that he's preparing the whole Beis HaMikdash, he's getting all the materials together and all the inyanim. The actual building was done by Shlomo. But all the preparations were done by David HaMelech, Be'atzmai, and in Sefer Divrei Hayomim, it's described at some length how that happened, and it's written that David HaMelech also drew up plans as to how the Beis HaMikdash was going to be built and arranged. L'Poyo Shlomo did the building. So over there it's written a pasuk that David said to Shlomo that I'm giving you all the materials and all the plans of the Beis HaMikdash, and he said, Hakoil Kiyad alai, or Kiyad Hashem alai, hiskil. All this is according to the hand of Hashem, what He has caused me to understand. In other words, I didn't do any of this myself. This is all that the Eibusha gave me, and I had a Baruch HaKodesh that this is how it has to be made. So it says there, what do you want from Shlomo? He was doing what David HaMelech told him, and David HaMelech said he got it from Hashem. It was all in the Nevuah, and it's all Kiyad Olai, Yad Hashem Olai Hiskil. And even more than that, he brings down a Medrash Tilim, on a pasuk in Tilim, that there was a whole, from the time of the Mishkan in the desert, when Moshe Rabbeinu built the Mishkan, he gave over a whole series of Hoiros, B'derech Torah Sheba'al Peh, or Kabbalah, Mitoich HaNavuos that he got on Har Sinai, he gave over to Yeshua, and Yeshua gave over, similar to what we have in Pirkei Avos, and Yeshua gave to the Nevi'im, and the Nevi'im gave to the Zakanim, and the Zakanim gave to the that he had already Hiroas from Hashem, how it would be the Beis Hamikdash. In other words, that even Moshe Rabbeinu knew he was building this way, right now, he knew that it was going to be kach v'kach in the Beis Hamikdash. It just didn't reveal it to people. It wasn't Nogea, Bo'isa Adoyer, or Bo'isa Arega, or he gave it over to his Mamale Makim, to Yeshua, and Yeshua gave it over to the Zakanim, and the Zakanim, the Nevi'im, V'kayitza B'zeh. It was given over, Midor L'dor, until it reached David HaMelech. In other words, that I say everybody, not by sure, not everybody, of everybody who was everybody, they knew that there was a clear series of nevuahs from Moshe Rabbeinu as to how the Beis Hamikdash was eventually going to be built. Therefore, what happened with Shlomo HaMelech, he got a whole series of things that had anyway come from tradition from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. Arafat says here, Achaim HaKodesh, it's not that anybody did anything different. They just went, it still remains a shaila on Rashi V'chein Ta'asu, because Rashi mentions specific details like the Shulchanes and the Menorahs and the Kiyorim and these inyanim. And L'chera, lav davka that they were all mamish the same size. So how come that there's still not some sort of steer beneged to Rashi? But the first says there, Achaim HaKodesh, we have to say that the kavanah in Rashi is that wherever there was no alteration in that nevuah that came down all the generations to David HaMelech from Moshe Rabbeinu himself, where there was no clear difference in the descriptions that were given over to David HaMelech between the way it was in the Mikdash and the Mishkan and the Mikdash, well then you just did everything the way it was in the Mishkan. But where there was a mafurish raya from this nevuah that was given over Baal Peh, Midor L'dor, to David HaMelech, then if there was any shinuim, then they went according to that, and therefore there came out differences. And Mamel wasn't really that there was a difference. That was a mafurish oirah from Hashem. In the Chanami, the whole etzem building of the Mikdash was on the same basic plan as the Mikdash. There was a Kodesh HaKadoshim, there was a Heichal, and then there was an Azara, and there was he called the courtyard with the whole Inyanim. It was all basically the same Inyan, just that some of the details, not all of them, altered according to this whole amazing tradition that came down to David HaMelech, Ish mipi Ish. As they described the Achaim HaKodesh, it's very famous Achaim. Kuntais Lefi said that the whole Mikdash, the Mishkan was just all like one Mikshah, they were just like one tremendous, unbelievable Gilim, and the Shamayim beginning with the Mishkan and then going further into what Imam Yidden were already anticipating right from the beginning, and eventually, those Yidden who knew or were supposed to know, they're eventually anticipating the building of the Beis Hamikdash with all the details that would be given Biyad Hashem to David and eventually to Shlomo, who did the actual building. It comes that Rashi is right. It doesn't really alter the basic point in Rashi that everything has to be done according to the main basis of the Mishkan. Well, that's why it's going to be done l'doyri. And also, we find in certain cases, without going into all the details, that even when they get to the Ramban's Kasha with the Mizbeach, that it would appear in one place in the Gemara that the size of the Mizbeach is not really in certain ways miyakev, even though we're told certain measurements, it's not really, it's only that it has to be square, that is what is really preventative. Or it was a little bit smaller or bigger, lav davke. There's a whole discussion what the Orach Chaim HaKodesh stirs off with a Gemara Masechtas Zvachim. It's not the place to get involved in the whole pilpul. Suffice it to say that there are many details that leave Rashi pretty well defended, despite the kasha of the kashias of the Ramban. Nimta, that the Mishkan was the beginning, as you might say, and l'doiros, for all the generations to come, there's going to be the same plan, even in the Beis HaMikdash, which looked very different. The Poyo, it's all one hemshah. But Lefisa, we can go a little bit deeper, and we can open up a different view of the whole relationship between the Mishkan and the Mikdash, as is well known. That the Gemara says in Masechta Shvuos that the Mishkan is called Mikdash, and the Mikdash is called Mishkan. Here we see Asuli Mikdash, even though we're talking about the Mishkan. It's called Mikdash, and the Beis HaMikdash, there's certain psukim which Kilo referred to the Beis HaMikdash like a Mishkan. There's a simon that since they're called, each one of them, by their own names, and by the name of their future successor or their predecessor, successor, I'm going to say, or their predecessor, it's a sign that they're really all essentially linked, one with the other. Vahu. What we could suggest is that the Mishkan is an essential part of the whole plan of the Eibishter in the Bria, in such a way that anything that occurred in the Mishkan has to, and B'derech Mamela, appears in all the Inyanim later on. Ubehektem, the famous beer from the Shloah Kodesh, what he says, V'asuli Mikdash v'shochanti b'sei chom. L'chayra, it should have been written, Asuli Mikdash v'shochanti b'sei choy. Therefore, teitzt the Shloah Kodesh, b'sei choy, loy ne'amar ela b'sei chom. Melamed, that the Inin of the Mishkan is betoid kol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael. In other words, that the Mishkan, its whole Inyan, was to plant and to bring those Inyanim which were in the Mishkan, or they should really be b'chol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael, and the Pa'ula of the Mishkan, and how much more so the Beis HaMikdash, which is the Beis HaElomim, was to make that every Yid would in effect be a Mishkan LaHaKadosh Baruch Hu, with all the pratim and all the inyanim that there were in the Mishkan, Begashmias, or they would become the whole makeup of a Yid Baruchni. As I say, with the Yid Zayin, and the Father Shloah Kodesh says that really from the moment that the Mishkan was built, and it was Makuyim, that Inyan was Shochanti B'sei Chom, that the whole purpose of the Mikdash was to dwell in the Yidden, not so much to dwell in the world per se, but to dwell in the Yidden. So from that moment, the Mikdash was by the Yidden. As they write the Shloah Kodesh, he says the Mikdash belongs to the Yidden and it's in them. And no matter wherever Yidden will be and wherever they are, there's a Beis HaMikdash. But maybe it's not shaykh anymore, the union of a Churban Beis HaMikdash. That's a famous lesson of the Medrash, what the Rebbe brings down in Hayom Yom, the Friedrich Rebbe. Or the Rebbe rather brings it B'Shem Friedrich Rebbe in Hayom Yom, the famous Medrash which says that the Eibishter took out his anger on Eitzim Vavonim. Or he didn't destroy the Yidden. In other words, if the Yidden sinned, then they should have been wiped out, well, not the Beis HaMikdash. And in fact, it says the Medrash, what the Eibishter did was, he took the Beis HaMikdash, that's what Rashi is, Maram is, at the beginning of Pasha Pekudei. There's another few verses from here, where it's written, Eila Pekudei HaMishkon, Mishkon Ha'edes. It cites Rashi, the word Mishkon, from the word Mashkoin. What a Mashkoin means, how do you call a bilateral, how do you call a pledge?
Collateral. Collateral.
Collateral, what do you call it in American language? He took it as a pledge. It's a mashkoin. The Eibishter took the pledge. The two Bate Mikdash are like a pledge, which means it's got to be given. It's got to be given back. And really, it never really got lost completely. It's waiting for the Yidden to correct the situation, and they'll get it back. Over here, noch mehr von them, according to the Shloh Kodesh, it's even more that wherever the Yidden are, that's where the Mishkan is. From the moment the Mishkan was built, and a Mishkan exists wherever there's a Yid. And wherever there are Yidden, Loshe Rabbiim, there's already a Mishkan and a Mikdash. And the Eibishter took out literally his anger on the physical Beis HaMikdash over the real, which you might say in inverted commas, Beis HaMikdash, the Pnimi, the Atzmi, the Beis HaMikdash, which is the Nishamas of a Yid and the makeup of a Yid and his Avetus Hashem and his Ruchnias, or that he left. And thus he geblieben, that it can't be wiped out, and that will always be there. The Churban Habayis was only a Dovah Gashmi, as they stated in Hayom Yom from the Rebbe. The Mikdash is a living entity inside every year. If you look up in the Shloh Kodesh where he talks about a pariches, he said it's not only in the makeup of a Yid, but it's also all the Eilamas from the beginning. Mamish and Lifnei Atzilas and Atzilas and Bria, Yitzira, Vasiya, everything and all the protim in all the Eilams, Mamish from the very first Eilam, all of them are Neomazim and the Beis HaMikdash. All, like the Rebbe, the Tzemel Tzedek, it says Barichas in the Binyan Beis HaMikdash in Derech Mitzvah Secha. What he brings Barichas, the Yeriyas with the Eretz Makifim, and all the other Keilim with the Eretz Apnimim, which are Mislabishim, B'toicha HaKeilim, and the Oren Zinu for Torah, what Torah is Miyachet, both Makif and Pnim without gone, so huge Yeriyas, and all the different Inyanim, how the Mishkan, every prat, all the way down to the Yeriyas and all the little pegs that were holding the curtains down with all Inyanim. It's all Maramas of Inyanim Bein Lamaila and Bein Lamata down in Eilam Asiyah v'chulei. Nimmt that the Mikdash ist kilo koilo the ganze Staus von alle Eilamas von alle Gile Elakus ad Reim Kol Amaila. Das ist die Ine von After the Mishkan. Loopt auch the Beis HaMikdash and After in Mishkan as I say. And what Afise kommt is the Beis the Mishkan is ki'iluai an embodiment in front of people, Meluboshim, Nishamas, Bekufim, of the whole Ishtaushas, Oilamas, and the whole Bria, Miraces, Kola Giluim Adlamat. And if the whole Mishkan is just a story, if you happen to know it, you study it, you can see the ganze Gilelakus, Mirace, Kola Madreza, Tzof, Kola Madrega. As I go up to another cook. And the Rabbeinu B'chaya, he says it. And the Alter Rebbe brings a very similar thing in Likutei Torah, Parsha Shlach. But the Alter Rebbe brings over there a very similar idea that there are like three main sections in the Beis Hamikdash. There's the Kodesh HaKadoshim and the Heichal, and then there's the Azara with the Mizbech, and then there's the Chotzer, Oil Meid, Chulu. Different in order. In the Beis Hamikdash, it was like the Harabais, and then there was the Etzem Torah, and then there was the Heichal. And the Rabbeinu B'chaya says that these are connected three inyonim in the Adam. That is what you call the Moyach and Laiv of the Mensch. Yeah, but those are the high, elevated inyonim. And those are the, as it were, the Kodesh HaKadoshim and the Heichal. In other words, it's your cup and your Moyach. That's the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And the Laiv, where there's supposed to be the Midas, V'tala Gute Sachen, where you serve the Eibishter V'Ava V'Yira, and you hotel to the Eibishter V'Ava V'Yira Hashem, Neitzach Hoidiyah. You say it with the other inyonim, but that's the inyon for the heichal. And then there's some more practical aspects. Yeah, the body, the lower organs, and then there's the actual physical movement of the body down in the lower levels. So that's the azara, the chutz me azara v'chulu. And my mother zot the Rabbeinu B'chaya that a mensch is like a walking mishkan. He's got three main sections, two pictures of it, the mishkan, and all the inyonim that function in him are really like the way it was in the Beis Hamikdash, and that's what the Zohar Kodesh says in Hadolit. Parsha Shlach brought down in Likutei Torah that there's three main sections. In the same Bayidin, there's these three main inyonim, and the Alter Rebbe says that's also the inyan what we find, that there's Koyanim, Leviim, and Yisrael, and that people are like Mekudoshim, like it's brought down in Divrei Hayom in the Lashon, that the Eibusha says, Va'avdel es Aron li yesh Kodesh HaKadoshim, that the Kohen Gadol is Kodesh HaKadoshim. And I remember the Kohanim are begeder, in for Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Leviim, the in for the Heichel, and the Yisraelim are the Azara with the Mizbeach HaChitzoim. V'churu with the ganze Arichis Ha'inyonim, that the whole makeup of Yidden B'klal and of a Yid B'frat is a walking dogma of the Mishkan. Elfize, we could maybe suggest that in Emerson, the Shlach Kodesh himself says in another place that it's not the pshat that we see things here in the lower world. And from that we can understand how things are the Maila. What the real way is a Chabadska way. That's what somebody asked me last night after the shiur we had, and we're learning demanding Hemshech over there. Somebody said to me, what's all this, all these inyonim and all these high things. The same person is, for some mysterious reason, he's not here at the particular moment. But anyway, that's what he asked. And so I said to him, that's exactly the Chabadski Adar. The Chabadski Adar is to take you into a high inyan, and from that you will well understand the more simple inyanim. And if you don't, then they don't bother you particularly, because you're so busy with the higher inyanim. But not. Chabad takes you, puts you up into the higher elements, and lets you sort it out sort out yourself, as they say. Oh, be careful, But you got to sort it out yourself, and then when you come down into the simple, you have a different look at everything. You see it all in a different way. And so that's exactly what we suggest. That's what the Shloh says, that really the Torah talks upstairs, and it just shows you a remez. All that you see down here is just like a remozim for the real truth, which is the divine and spiritual truth. And the world down here is just remozim, not like people think, that the world down here is like a metzias, and it's meramez to the things upstairs. But he said it's the opposite, that everything upstairs is the real reality, and down here is just the real reality is being thrown a few rows into its own self, and that's this world. So when you're looking at this world, you're only looking at Ramazim. As I thought the Shloka. So that fits in very well what the Rebbe said in Toshim Mem Hey and Yud Beis Tammuz, that the whole Golus is a dream, and that the only reality is the Beis Hamikdash. Very famous Sikha, what the Rebbe said. That the whole Golus is meant to be a dream. It's all a dream. You see that? And the whole reality is the Beis Hamikdash. And Gilei Lakus, the Beis Hamikdash, those are the Mashiach, those are the reality. So I say, come to us, the Mamish Lefita Shlo. That's what the Shlo says. I mean, we can say that it's really even deeper than what we've already described. Really, the thing is, because Yidden are what they are, and because the Eivishter Kavioch with all the Giluim that he made, well, that's why there's a Beis Hamikdash. Not the types that the Beis Hamikdash to remes to all these things. But the Beis Hamikdash comes out Lamata because Azaydas Lamaila and Azaydas in Ayid. Ayid is Be'emes Meid Azoy. And I remember, Vibar the Yidden were B'mi Nimloch, Nish Meisem Shal Tzadikim, that the Eivishter took a Eitze Kavioch, how he should create the world. He took it from the Nish Meisem Shal Tzadikim, even before they were really there. They hadn't really come about yet, and Nish Omed, but the Eivishter already foresaw, he Kavioch, he asked him an opinion or an Eitze, is it really Kedai to create the world? And Nish Meisem Shal Tzadikim said, yes, it is. Yeah, Fabu is, because we're going to be there. And so the who's the Nish Meisem Shal Tzadikim? Yeah, the Yidla. The Yidden there, Nish Meisem Shal Tzadikim. And if we could say that Dafki, because the Beis Hamikdash is Kemosh Hula, Lamaila in, and the way it is in Yidden, the way it is in the Nishamet, and Elokus Lamaila, that's why it comes out not the way it is, and therefore Rashi said, V'chein ta'asu, that's an everlasting thing. It's always going to be like that, and it can never be mishtaneh. So lo yachol l'shtanah. It's always there, and it's deep inside. It disappeared, the remes disappeared. The eitzim vavonim, with their remes to the Indian, that was, and it didn't really disappear either. Because there's an opinion which says that really the Beis Hamikdash is really still there, but you can't see it because you've got dust in your eyes. Or I've had it called, what's the expression? Piach. What do you call it? Ashes from the oven. You know, the oven has a very fine, they get in your eyes, it's very hard to get them out. So you got Piach, but Einayim, the first estimate is the Beis Hamikdash. What is the Piach? But Einayim, this is the Golet. And that's what the Rebbe said, open your eyes. You've got to clean out your eyes. The Rebbe said once you have to clean out your eyes. And when you clean them out, then you got to open them. And himself, he said that really everything is still there because it always was there. And that's the way it is. But the same thing exists. The same thing really exists, that the Eibishter did not ever take away the Beis Hamikdash. Really, it's really there, both in the Nishamas of Yidden, because that's where it all started. It also, what the Friedrich Rebbe said, that's the Emes Hamikdash, and it also comes out, B'chol HaZmanim, B'chol HaEifanim in, Afilu B'gashmis HaOilam. And the far, my eyes jumped out when I saw the Sador Balaturim. You know, you heard of the Balaturim. But Balaturim, he was the son of the Rosh. So some of you guys who are learning the Smicha, that you've heard of the, that's what you hear of the Rosh. Anyway, Rosh is, he's B'cholat Masechtes. He is the, like, you know, the one who brings the halachas from the Sugiyas. The son of the Rosh was the Balaturim. He wrote the Abaturim. So once his father, the Rosh, said to the Balaturim that you're too much Eisik in Torah Shabbat Peh. I never see you learning Torah Big Sav. You should make sure that you learn Chumash. And you're tremendously big in Torah Shabbat Peh. So 3 nights later, the Balaturim comes to his father and produces him this amazing Pirush that he wrote on Kol HaChumit. The Pirush Balaturim. That's what they say. He did it in a couple of nights. He gave it to his father as a simon that he also wants to Shevik Saab. So therefore, it's very amazing. The Balatur is full of all sorts of Ramazim and Gematria, all sorts of amazing inyan. Comes again the Balaturim, and he says it's written V'chein Tasu, right? Must make the base of meters V'chein Tasu. That's the way it is. He said we find by the story of Gideon. You guys ever heard the story of Gideon in Shaitim? Well, at least one person nodding his head. Gideon was a Shafate, and he made a famous war against the Midianites and the Amalekites together. Now just imagine such a combination. Wow. Midian and Amalek together. But everyone knows about Amalek. Next week you're going to be slogging Amalek from Hashem. And Pasha Zocher. But Midian, if you ever learned the Hemshech Ve'icholzu from the Rebbe Rashab, then you learn what Midian is. Midian is Sinas Chinon, Hashem Yerachim. The Midian is maybe in some ways even worse than Amalek. Here we had Midian and Amalek made this big ally together, and they came in to try and conquer Eretz Yisrael. And there came along a shepherd called Gideon ben Yoash. He was the one who came along, and he beat him, and he drove him out of Eretz Gideon. So how did he do it? You know the famous story. But there was thousands and thousands of these Midianites with the Amalekites. So just imagine Amalek with Midian together with this stuff. An unbelievable threat to the whole state of the Jewish people. I mean, if we take out this in Ruchnia, this couldn't be worse than that. Midian with Amalek together. And there was this unbelievable power. And the Abish, so Gideon went around and he got together something like 22,000 or 30,000 soldiers or something. And the Abish said, it's much too many. It's much too many people. I don't need all these soldiers. He said, just to get rid of Midian and Amalek, we can do with a lot less. So Gideon was completely taken aback. And so he said to a lot of the soldiers, listen, you guys, whoever wants you go home. So about 20,000 of a sudden walked off. They all went over to his left, So then the Abish said, still too many people. Don't need them. Yeah, they stayed in the Pasuk. So the Abish said, you have to go down to the water and give these guys to drink. You guys know the story, I'm sure you do. Yeah. So the Abish said, we'll see how these guys drink the water from the river. And he said, those who take the water in their hands, they suck the water from their hands. He said, those will be the ones who can take the water. Or those who bow down and put their mouths inside the river, he said, that's maybe a sign that they bowed down one time to Avodah Zarah. This comes in, we don't want people like that. So there's only 300 people that bowed down with their hands and drank from the water. 300 people were left. So the Abish said to Gideon, fine, that's good. 300 people is just, that's what we need to beat this huge, unbelievable army of the others. So Gideon said, that's what it did. So then it's written that Gideon decided he would spy out on the edge of the camp, and he snuck over by night, and he crept through the bushes, and he decided he would listen to what they're talking about over there in the camp, the Midianites. So he gets over there, and he hears these soldiers talking one to the other. One of them says that he had a most amazing dream, and the other soldiers are listening very carefully. And he said, in the dream, I saw this little piece of oats bread, a little piece of oat bread, and started moving around in our camp. And I got to the main tent of the headquarters, and they're going to do it, and it blew all the parts of the tent aside. Next thing, it turned the whole tent upside down. So the other guys were all listening and said, wow, man, what sort of a dream is that? And so Gideon sort of listening in, he said, And he said, that's a sign that we got him. So he gets back to the camp, and he says to the soldiers, okay guys, here we go. So It's written over there, everybody should look at me. Yeah, v'chein ta. So, like they have times against the Chassidim and watch the Rebbe the whole time. He said, watch the Rebbe the whole time. So here it's written that Gideon said, but you must watch me. They said, Gideon said, whatever I'll do, v'chein ta. So the Balaturim says, yeah, v'chein ta. So it's exactly the same Lashon. So what did Gideon tell them to do? Gideon told them that they must take torches, big torches, but they must put them inside vessels, that you won't be able to see for a long way away the flame. It'll be inside these big vessels and they'll be covered by the vessels. And you must take shofares. Everybody must have a shofar, all the 300 guys. And when we get close to the camp of the Midianites, also we're all going to blow on this. We're all going to blow on these shofars, and also going to pull out these lapidim out of the kalim. And we're going to, blowing the shofars, we're going to go rushing in with these lapidim. And let's see what happens. So the ganze Machaneh from hundreds of thousands of Midianites and Amalekites, they all got tremendously full. They said, get forward, what's that? And they all fled, left all their arms behind, and they fled, and they there's an unbelievable balagan and a confusion what they're doing. And Gideon chased after their main leaders, and he caught them with a whole big arika. It's an amazing arika. So comes again Rashi over there. Rashi says, what's the union of this little piece of oat bread that was floating around in the middle of the dream? Was it does? So Rashi says, Remez, K'tziras ha'krovas ha'oimer. Rashi says, you know what the oimer is? On Pesach. On the second day of Pesach, they often the oimer, and then you spill asoim, you count the oimer with all that on time until Shvoi. So the offering of the oimer, well, that's this little piece of bread. So Rashi says, Zeichel ha'krovas ha'oimer, that's the dream. And then comes along the Balaturim, and the Balaturim says, who is it the sin for putting fire inside the kalim? He says the most amazing thing. He says, Remas laveidus beis hamikdash, that they used to put all the korbanos inside clay shores. So they wanted to take part of the flesh from the mizbech. They had to carry it in a clay shores. So he said that the ishay, they put the fires of the Abish have to go into kalim, and he said that is remes to the avedus beis hamikdash. So I come to this little piece there that Gideon did everything according to the way it is in the Beis Hamikdash. I was with the shofar. So it says Rashi over there. Rashi said, not the Balaturim. Rashi said the shofar is remes lamatan Torah. Zeichel lamatan Torah that was given with a shofar. In other words, how do we know how to build the mikdash? How to do it all through matan Torah? So the whole thing was matan Torah with the Beis Hamikdash, and the Midianites and the Amalekites just took off. That is up to the Balaturim. It's unbelievable. I mean, in 2 nights he's writing this amazing purity. Where did he chop his arm over there in the middle of the church? Elamai, what do we see from that? We see that wherever Yidden were and whatever they were doing, from the moment that the Mishkan was misgathered, and even before that, I feel a lift there, because the Rambam brings that Avraham Avinu made the Akedah peaked in themselves and Platz with the Mizbech is nowadays in the Beis Hamikdash. Avraham Avinu didn't have anywhere to do the Akedah peaked up their place. Mamish was at an Adam Arishan offered his korban, Adam Arishan offered korbanim. The first korban Adam Arishan offered was also in the same place. Elamai, that it's all there, right in the very essence of the Matthias of the world. Everything is the Beis Hamikdash. And if once you knew about that, they never forgot it. Everything is either the Mikdash or Zeichel Mikdash, or it's the way it's done in the Mikdash. That's what you know. That's the whole. At the fire, I saw another sefer. Break that off. I forgot what sefer it was now. Break that off. Wherever Yidden had to make a milchama, and they had to face enemy, they had to face any threat, they always made a Zeichel Hamikdash. They offered a korban, it was still in the time where you could offer korbanos, but I did something to arouse the materials and the power and the influence in Jewish life at the Mikdash, and sure, you're 100% okay. Ein lecho shum bayah. Everything's going to, it'll be an overwhelming victory. And we see that everywhere, all through the Gemara, the Gemara says, why do we do this? Zeichel HaMikdash. Why do we do this? Zeichel HaMikdash. Why do we do this? Zeichel HaMikdash. All over. And if our Sfiras Ha'omer, the Rambam says that Sfiras Ha'omer is Midoraisa. He claims that the whole Sfiras Ha'omer is Noeg today, Mamish Min HaTorah. In the basis of Zman HaMikdash. But he's a rare opinion. In the Gemara, it's written, it appears that most of the Amoraim hold that it's just a Zeichel HaMikdash. It's only a remembrance to the base of Mikdash. I will give a quick question. You didn't count the whole Sfiras Ha'omer. It was brought down in the Zachar. If you miss out one night of the Sfiras, you don't count, then you can't be Mekabel the Torah without going to. It becomes a whole amazing of a Sfiras Ha'omer. Have you ever had any more amazing thing? The whole 7 weeks, you didn't count the aim with this Abrenum. Sfiras Ha'omer. It's all Zeichel HaMikdash. The base of Mikdash lives on. But wherever he is, the Inim from the base of Mikdash. Everything we do is all reckoned according to the base of Mikdash. What could be better than the base of Knesset? The base of Knesset is Yecheskel Hanavi says that in Be'arotzes Asher Hefitzeisi Isom Shom, in the countries where I'm going to spread them out in the Golas, V'er Lahem Shom LaMikdash Meh, I will be a small base of Mikdash to them, even in the countries where they'll be in the Golas. And the Gemara Masechta Megillah, right near the end, says, Eilu Bati Knesias u Bati Medrasas Asher B'Bavel. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Zeh Beis Rabbeinu Asher B'Bavel. Not just any old base Knesset. But that's the 770. A famous Sikha in the Rebbe. One of the most amazing Sikhas. They say that the Rebbe kept that over a week inside the office before he gave out the Hagor. Normally the Rebbe they give it in 2 hours. The Rebbe would give out the Hagor. Well, that one he didn't give out so quick. He kept it all the time. It's a very special, amazing Sikha. Beis Rabbeinu Asher B'Bavel, but that's Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. And however, the Gemara said over there that all the Bati Knesias Asher B'Bavel, they are Amikdash Me'at. That the Yecheskel Hanavi says that there are small base Hamikdash. And if you look up over there in Yecheskel, Rashi brings down the Targum. Rashi says the same thing as the Targum Onkelos. The Targum Onkelos says that the Bati Knesias Asher B'Goylo, that they sit second to the base of Tinyon L'Bei Mikdosha. They sit second to the base of Mikdash. So they're like second in line. There's the base of Mikdash, and then right alongside the base of Mikdash is the Bati Knesias, and he says Shehem Zeir, Galusa. They are the small base of Mikdash in the Golan. Now it's put down in certain Sfarim that the word Zair in Aramic means the same thing, but just in a smaller, they call it a smaller rendition, and a smaller size. Oh, really, it's got itself the whole Penimus of the. There's a huge Arichas, and it says about Matzav is called, how do you call it, Katnus Abba. You know, the whole Arichas put down instead of Katnus of Moichen Da'aba, Moichen Da'Chochma, and all the Rabbeim Mamas, but the Katnus Abba really means the same as the Gadlus Abba. It means the whole Spirit of Chochma, but how do you call it, fetched down into a small little pekel, but it's really the same pekel. This type's Katnus. And when the Targum writes Zair, that the Bati Knesias, that they're like a small base Hamikdash, what it means is that everything's packed in. Everything's packed inside. And over the base of Bati Knesias and Bati Madrasas, Asher B'Bavel, they are Mamishtina from the base of Hamikdash. But just in a small way. It's like vacuum packed. I don't know what to use the expression. It's an unusual way of reproducing the whole ganze Beis HaMikdash. And if I I'm a foolish Zoya. In Pasha B'Shalat, the Zoya says the Beis Knesset dilatate is bedugma u'me'ein Beis Mikdosha dilayela. It's just like the Beis Mikdash, how it is in heaven, waiting to come down, and the representative down here is the Beis Knesset. Huge inyanim and biurim, until certain great poskim said the whole way the Beis Knesset is arranged is really bedugma to the way the things were in the Beis HaMikdash, without going into the whole riches, benegel lazet. And there was always a menorah in a shul, and the oren is a Kodesh HaKadoshim, and the teva had a that's like the Mizbach HaKitoyres. And you move a bit further down, you're already going into the table. We read the Torah, even from the Mizbeach HaChitzei. Ganz Arichas Einyonim, which brought down in certain Poiskim. Then again, it named it the Beis HaKnesses and the Beis HaMedrash. That is the replacement of the Beis HaMikdash. This is Rashi, V'chein Tasu. It's all going into the Torahs. It's all there. It's all be'emes there, because it had to be there. Because I say this bepnimis v'atzmis, and if I can't have a zam and see it, there wouldn't be a. But if it's brought down, and if there's a town where there's no Beis Knesset, b'seichai, then a Talmud Chacham shouldn't live there. Except if you happen to be a shliach of the Rebbe. If you happen to be a shliach of the Rebbe, then you're not just a stam of Talmud Chacham. You're a shliach of the emes Talmud Chacham. Also upon him, Nimtzerov is that everything lives on. The Beis HaMikdash never stopped. And ever in every Beis HaKnesses, you got the whole in from the Beis HaMikdash. Once again, the Marshua over there, and the Marshua says the most mind-boggling thing. And the Marshua says that the Gemara goes further over there, and it says that Asidim, Batim Joseph, Batim Knesset Elu, Lehikova B'Yerushalayim B'Beis HaMikdash, or Yad Beis HaMikdash. That these all these shuls are going to in the time of Moshe, they're all going to come over and he could sit down alongside the Beis HaMikdash. So the Marshal says it's going to be a whacking piece of space, all these shuls are going to go over, and he says that he brings the lashon over there. I think even Rashi writes over there in Yecheskel that they're going to be mechuborim, they're going to be right alongside and joined up to the Beis HaMikdash. So in that famous sikha, the Rebbe said the first one to come over is the Beis Rabbeinu Asher, according to Rebbe Eliezer, the first one to come over is the Beis Rabbeinu Asher Babaru, because that was mamish the Beis HaMikdash. That's what he said. Kilu Kol HaProtim, Kol HaShleimus. That's the first one to come over, and then all the others will come over. So the Marshua says, where are you going to fit them all? So then he brings it, the Medrash says, and it's put down in the Yokut Shemainim, that Asidi Yerushalayim, Beis HaMikdash, Lishpashit B'Kol Yerushalayim. The whole city of Yerushalayim, with all the Yodim, with all the Shleimas, is going to be over the Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash is going to be the whole of Yerushalayim, the way it's going to be. Prozish Teishev Yerushalayim. That Jerusalem is going to be heck big, which means that the whole Jerusalem are going to be all the Bati Knesset, which are all going to be standing around and joining up to the Beis HaMikdash. And he said, I see that Eretz Yisrael is passionate to call our Eretz, that Eretz Yisrael is going to spread out to all the other countries. And they back to Marshua. What sort of problem? He said, no problem, all the Bati Knesset will come over, and Prozish Teishev Yerushalayim, all the Bati Knesset, they'll be Yerushalayim together with the Beis HaMikdash, and the Rambam anyway holds that Kol Yerushalayim is called Mikdash, as they held the Rambam. And if what's the problems? I struck the Mashur that it's really kedai to read that Mashur. It's like it's like reading some sort of a Navuah. It's amazing what he writes over there. The Mashur. He was a very holy person, you know that. The Baal Shem Tov said that if we knew the Kedusha of the Mashur, that we would push one another to kiss the stone on his cave. oder gesagt, Stufen zu kuschen die Stein an his cave. Also gesagt, der wäre Christus da, das heißt auf der Waldcenter. Auch von ihm, der Moschee schreibt das an den Tag, das ist auf Mamisch Pille place. The come to us that everything is already there, everything is ready. The base of Midas is all there, base of Benash and Baboro. All about the Knesses are anyway the base of Midas, and the Aid is anyway a living base of Midas, and all because of him that the base of Midas came about. In other words, right from the very, and that's what the Rebbe brings in the Bossi Lagani, as soon as there'd been Matan Torah and there'd been this unbelievable Gila, Elokus Lamata, first thing you have to build a base of Midas. That's what a Gila Elokus is going to be. Pintus of the Koffer there, the man, like the Alter Rebbe writes, the whole second part of Tanya is all about the other. It comes to us that everything is ready. Well, what is the problem? What is holding up the whole in? So comes along the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says, takes the whole in and even further, and he says, listen, yeah, the whole base of Midas is there, everything is ready, all's been done, all the Bati Knesses are ready, they're all just waiting to fly out to the base of Hamikdash, and the base of Mikdash inside every year has already been stood up, and it's all fine, everybody's done everything they can do, all the Berurim, everything, the world's ready, everybody's ready. And I this whole union of Cain Ladoiros, that Rashi says that it's already been finished, and Cain Ladoiros is now the base of Mikdash Ashlishi, not just the base of Mikdash Shlomo, but the base of Mikdash Ashlishi, and the Rebbe says that you got to see it, you got to live it, open up your eyes and you'll see it. It's already there. What's holding up? I don't know. But it seems to me that what it is that we're not trained Ad Masai and Yechia Melech HaMashiach, not trained with enough chayes, you know what I mean? You gotta really mean it, you know, you gotta be cocked, you gotta be really in it, you gotta see it. I mean, this is there. And that's the whole meaning. So, Yesh Lema, that the Rebbe said the answer is that you got to learn in your name at the base of Midas and Geula or Mashiach. Got to do what you learn, you become involved in the Kiva that you're there, that becomes your whole reality, is therefore you're in it. And therefore we have to say that that's what the Rambam brings down at the beginning of Masechta Midas. The Rambam brings down over there in his Pirush HaMishnayos, and he says, what do we have to learn in Masechta Midas? The Mizbeach was high, and the base of Mikdash Hasheni, and this was this long, and this wall was so many feet, and this wall was a meter, and this wall was something else. What do we need to know all that for? You have to learn it, you have to pilfer in it, and the young say, do it. So the Rambam said, because you need to know that, if you burn a base of Mikdash, you got to take it from Yad Bimheir over your Meinu, you've got to know all the measurements, you've got to know what to do. The limud in the inner from Beis Hamikdash is preparing you to know how to do. Maybe all the Talmudei Chachamim will be sort of, scratching their heads. Why should this particular part? And you might just happen to know. You might have learned Sekta Midas, and you have an unbelievable spurs. You might say, I remember the Meforish over there in Sekta Midas, he said, Kach. All the great Talmudei Chachamim said, this deep practice. And the great Polish Gedolim, they say that everybody's got a stone in the base of Mikdash. Always we've got a stone that we put into the base of Mikdash. And he said, your stone will shine. It will give off, and it will shine like what you were. You understand? So when Melech Mashiach come along, you have this sort of binoculars, and you see all these stones, you know all of his hidden, which one, does it there, does it there. You see it all from the different stones, as I stated in the Sefer, this is from the Naftali Ropshitzer, the Zera HaKodesh, he wrote a Sefer, the Buddhic Sefer. They just gave out a new printing of it. He said, schreibt das as and the Rebbe's going to walk around with these binoculars, he's going to look at all the stones in the base of Mikdash, and he's going to say, this is there, this is there, this is Beryl, this is Shmuel, this is Almin Kir, this is there, this is Levi Leuven. is he'll know which stone was yours. You understand? Listen. And I met him. Maybe you'll have a really lichtiger stone. So, oh, yeah, the stone will really shine out, will blink very good. Give these amazing sign lights. What do you say to that, Shlomo? What do you say about that?
That's pretty interesting.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I agree with you. And if we're all going to put our stone in the base of Mikdash, and we're going to make it a lichtiger stone and a positive stone. And we're going to say, listen, Rashi said, it's all going to be there, it's never going to stop. And you have to realize that the base of Mikdash never stopped from up. It was all in Yonu, all the way through, from Avram Avinu, from Adam Arishon. It was always there, never stopped, and it's going on. And the Rebbe has just made it absolutely come out into its full reality in a way that's never quite been done by any other leader of the Jewish people, even though it was ready to be done, but the Rebbe came and brought it out. So we have to realize that we're living with a reality. It's not just a Shana idea. That's the amazing message of the Balaturim. Yeah, he had a Muhammad with Malik and with Midian and with toys and toys and the chariots. And nowadays you got Persia, and you got this, and you got there, and you got the other. And you got all these Meshuggah in that say, that's even worse. He said, what do you do? What is the Eitzah? The Eitzah is just do things like the Beis HaMikdash. Do things the way it was in the Beis HaMikdash. And that's the message of Purim. So you might say, where's the Beis HaMikdash in Purim? Purim happened over there with Haman. So we see that what did Mordechai do? He took all the children, he took them into a place, 22,000 Yiddish kinder. What did he learn with them? It's brought down in the Medrash, Hilchas Oim, the same thing. Picked the Sefer in the dream of the Gibbons. When the Oimer, so Eddie Currit, Mordechai was teaching them the halachas of the Kohen Oimer, as they stated in the Medrash. He's teaching all these kids the halachas of the Kohen Oimer. And he was teaching them how the Kohen used to, take out the Kmitza from the Mincha and all that. So they teach. Check this again. Haman's threatening to wipe out the whole Jewish people, threatening. He says he's doing it. And it's just a matter of, you draw all the kids together, teach them something that's not real. It's not going on. The base Mikdash never, as a sure stopped the whole work on it, but they have to do it. The Mikdash is never, it's not there, Kilo. What did Mordechai say? Chas v'sholem. The Mikdash is not there. Chas v'sholem. That is the reality. We've got to teach these kids how to do the avodah with the Oim and how to take a Shemitah. Either not even kohanim a lot of them, doesn't matter. They got to know they're chavuz. They're trying to place a Mikdash. So it's written that when Haman saw that, he said, oh, he killed God. Haman realized that he was finished. So the Rebbe, the famous secret of the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, what did he see with that? What's that thing? He said, Mahura, that he saw himself was finished. What thing is that? Huh? So the Trumah guys were also afraid of it. So what she is, my is. So Haman realized that the Beis HaMikdash was not only just there, but the Beis HaMikdash was alive, and it was going, and it was happening. I heard the never hidden the tips to goals would supposed be a Haman stood there waving an axe at everybody. The real reality and the real is the Kohen Oim and the Beis HaMikdash. And that's the message of Purim. That's the message. And whenever ever afraid of Shabbos, we should be a good to Shabbos and the whole Shabbos at the Beis HaMikdash, the whole Shabbos the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash. And the Haftarah is Hashem Nosen Chokma or Shloimeh. Shloimeh didn't know it on himself. Hashem Nosen Chokma. It's all from the Rebbe. And that's the Rebbe, everything about the Rebbe is only from the Rebbe. Sinishka, and the Rebbe is from Zer David Shloimeh. He's a direct descendant. So what more do you want? So you say we got it. good for you, my son. Okay, so to be Shabbos, take it from Yad, Yibona Beisa,